Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The agenda is adopted. Moving to the acceptance of our minutes from the May 24, 2023 meeting. May I please have a motion to accept the minutes? Is there a second? Proper motion is before us. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes are accepted as presented. We do not have any public comment for today, so we will move past that section. I do want to, before we get to our one discussion item, very briefly, I want to acknowledge that Juneteenth is on Monday, and not everyone was free from slavery at the same time. The 13th Amendment being ratified still did not free Africans who were in states under Confederate control in 1863, and it took 2 additional years, June 19th, hence Juneteenth in 1865. And I want to mention that Juneteenth is American history and that my ancestors are your ancestors. The Reconstruction period was not the 40 acres and a mule that we learned about. Most never received it. As to end a conflict on who won the presidency, Reconstruction was ended as a result of that and shortly after it began. Not even one generation out of slavery, radical change such as practicing our own religion, being able to start and attend our schools, push legislation, and run for office happened through organizing, a tradition that continues today. My great-grandmother picked cotton and many before her. My ancestor Madison Pree fought in the war for our liberation and freedom and later became an entrepreneur and a landowner. I sit here proudly today as the first elected Black woman to this seat and as president and as a homeowner myself. All possible because of my ancestors, our collective ancestors. I also want to mention that this is not Black history, but it is American history, and that Black is not a social construct of a race, but it is a rich and beautiful culture that has contributed and sacrificed in blood, sweat, tears, dreams, and passion. Do any of my colleagues have anything to add to that note? All right, well, thank you for entertaining that announcement. And when we have our day off on Monday, when we maybe be thinking of our collective ancestors and the work that we do that has us sitting here. Item 5 on the agenda is a resolution approving the BET preliminary 2024 budget and tax levy. Jean McGann and her associate, in fact, Jean is not here with us today. Thank you for being here, and will present us with the information in this presentation. Welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. So I want to thank you for allowing this opportunity. We are going to discuss the estimated proposed 2024 budget as well as the levy for BET. To just kind of review the process that we took this year, what we did is we received actual and budget information from finance all the way back to 2020. So we had a good projection of what to expect and what has been happening within BET. We analyzed that data, and then we ended up having conversations with finance to make sure we understood the data and what is happening. We also had some conversations with finance regarding the reserves and the policies, and we analyzed what you currently have and what are some possibilities for the future. And with that, we prepared the draft budget for your consideration. What you're going to see in the 2024 budget are these following changes. There is a decrease in the budgeted staffing costs of $70,551. And coinciding with the decrease in staffing costs, you also have internal charges and materials that were related to the current staffing of $23,906. You will see an increase in the miscellaneous contractual services of $114,000, which is mainly the ABDO. It is the ABDO contract with BET. This budget also includes the use of $50,000 of your reserves. So a little bit more detail across, and again, I'm showing you all the way from 2020. But as I identified in the 2024 budget, you'll see that the BET is actually made up of 2 departments. The first is staff admin. The second one is the board. In the staff admin, you have a total cost of $135,976. Now, that total cost, you'll see it at the bottom of the screen, is made up of basically only 2 costs. The first cost is your general fund overhead of $20,976. You'll see that that actually is an increase. If going across the page, it was like $700 only in 2022, and all of a sudden it jumped to $20,000. Why was that a jump? And it was mainly due to the inclusion of video broadcasting into your budget. And that number was provided to us by the communications department. And then, as I mentioned below, you have miscellaneous contractual services did increase and is currently at $115,000. Now, this is for the Abdel services. Now, our services are what we provide: senior advisor, financial and administration services to BET. This is done on a daily or weekly basis, up to 87 hours a month, but can be extended by BET if needed. Our total contract with BET, including expenditures, is $175,000 a year. Now, you notice we only put in $115,000, only because it's an hourly contract. We don't have any past experience to be based off of, so this was our estimate on how much we felt that it would cost in 2024. Moving down to actual board member costs in 2024, that was actually a 100% increase because all of the board costs were previously budgeted under the staff admin department. So we actually realigned it with the actual costs. So in 2024, your board costs, total board member cost for the budget is $14,650, which brings you to a total for the entire BET of $150,626. Moving on to the levy portion, as I mentioned earlier, we have anticipated, based off of past practice, using $50,000 of reserve. You can, based off of, if you go down to the bottom line of assigned fund balance, you can see of how it was budgeted in the past and what the actuals were. So going back to 2020, you were budgeted to use $110,986 of reserves, but you only used $71,995. In 2021, you were budgeted to use $114,417 of reserves. You actually added to reserves. I'm assuming that's because no staff was involved and it was included in the budget. So you actually added $50,309 in 2021. 2022, you were budgeted to add $2,009. You actually ended up adding $76,648. In 2023, you are currently budgeted to use $23,800 of fund balance of your reserves. So your current fund balance as of 12/31 of 2022 is $259,419. If you use what you're budgeted of $23,800 and our projected 2024 use of reserves of $50,000, that still leaves you with an ending reserve fund balance of $185,619, which is plenty to carry on to be able to help with your levy and use reserves or for additional expenses if they should come, unexpected expenses if they should come up. So your projected levy, proposed levy, is $100,626, which is actually a decrease from 2023 of $1,374. So what are our next steps? You can consider, between the months of July and August, we continue to consider the 2024 BET budget. In September 13th, there's the public hearing regarding the maximum property tax levy for 2024. September 20th, you set the maximum property tax levy for 2024. And on December 6th is the adoption of the budget and levy for 2024. Do I have any questions?
Vice President Brandt.
It sounds like this budget will give a modest amount of relief to taxpayers of the city of Minneapolis or offset other increases, which is a good thing. And we're drawing down our substantial fund balance. If we adopt a budget along the lines of what you propose, and we find, for example, that we assign more duties to ABDO than what is budgeted, and we end up at a point where we have a substantial reserve still, but we haven't approved that as part of our budget, what's the procedure for, do we need to adopt a new budget resolution at that point? Maybe staff or President Priest-Ensign can help me out here.
You could, and I will also call on our amazing professional staff, but you could think of our total amount allocated as a 4-year period or bucket. So we have a total amount that we approved. We break it down by year, but you could think about it in total. But from the management of the contract piece, one of the things that I do is when I ask for them to take on work is they give me a projection of how many hours that would take. So I know ahead of time if we're gonna get close to even the maximum for the year. But if something was gonna be over an amount, that would require another vote for us to take because it would be going above what we agreed upon in the contract. Okay. So long as we're in the contractual confines, we're good. However, with the added addition, nothing tells me I have to, but I am closely monitoring, even if we have a large set of questions that we have, to be very diligent in asking how much more that will likely take, just so that can keep an eye on how much we are spending. And then that way, it'll also be helpful for when, as we start to continue our relationship, we'll be able to have a better idea of getting a baseline for roughly how much we spend when we have additional actions or items that we want them to take versus kind of a flat year where we're kind of just standard run-of-the-mill BET activities. Is there anything else as far as process procedure-wise around the contract as far as funding is concerned that I didn't already cover in my response for either clerk?
President Priest-Ensign, I don't believe there is.
All right. All set, Vice President Brandt, or did you have? Okay. I just wanted to applaud you for the cleanup of the accounts. They were a little messy and unclear what all the line items were for. There were funds that needed to move into other areas and charges that we shouldn't be receiving anymore that were completely cleaned up, which was really helpful. I want to thank you for that. I also wanted to circle back around video broadcasting that I have been monitoring views. And so one of the thoughts when we first took the vote on video broadcasting is we did say we would check back in to see how viewership is. And on average, we get about 100 views per video. And if you compare that to other committees, commissions, council meetings, we're actually on par for how many views they get for just kind of general standard non-active meetings is what I would call them. Like, not a lot of activism, not a lot of public comment. So we're actually on par for views. And so I believe that data does show that folks are interested. So I just wanted to circle back around that because it was a new expense. And it's something that we had a little discussion about. But I have been tracking and averaging out those views for every meeting that we have. So I just wanted to add that. Just add also for the record that we did break attendance and public comment record. So I think that is an additional measure to show that there is definitely interest in the work that we're doing. And so I just wanted to share that with my colleagues. And again, thank you for your work and your professionalism.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, with that being said, there's no further questions from my colleagues. Do I have a motion to approve? Are we just receiving filing? Is it really a motion to approve?
President Priest-Ensign, you do need to approve the preliminary budget.
Okay, so no questions. Is there a motion to approve the preliminary budget? Question from Vice President Brandt.
It would be, does the board have the sovereign power to set the levy and the budget, or is this subject to council review and control as well?
Councilmember Koski, you had a comment. We are an independent body. We can't be vetoed by the council, and the mayor has no mayoral power on the board. Do you have additional context?
Well, I think unless our attorney wants to answer this,
Yep, President Priest-Stinson, Vice President Brandt, that's correct. The board adopts its own levy within the limits that are set by state law and the charter, and that is not subject to review by the city council.
I would move to perhaps table simply because I'd like to give the mayor and the council president some time to ask any questions they have, unless staff can advise us that they've already had a chance to do so.
Councilmember Koski.
thank you, Madam President. I just want to make sure that I understand, we are just approving the preliminary 2024 budget and tax levy. This will come again before us.
All right.
And
Correct.
then the mayor and council vice president will have a chance to see it. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on that, but I think that's the process.
Very good, thank you.
Madam Chair, the city charter actually requires that each board submit to the mayor and this body by July 1st,
I was just going
their
to,
budgetary request. So this is part of that budget process as well.
thank you, yep.
All right.
Madam President, yeah, I was also going to add that before, I think he answered it, but yes, by July 1st, each board, commission, so we as a legislative department just did this, and that will be brought forward, and the BET, the park board is no different.
That's
So
correct.
same with the park board by July 1st, so.
Okay.
So I don't believe we have another meeting before then, so we would be out of compliance if we were to move forward with that motion. Do you rescind your
I
motion?
just throw it up for discussion, and I understand the logic of approving a preliminary levy and budget now.
I would say in my experience that staff and members that can't be present review the materials beforehand, and if they had questions, they would have reached out. In my professional experience, that's been the case with both our council president and our mayor, but also just across the board. So it's not a concern of mine that they're not here to weigh in.
Very good.
Any other comments? All right, thank you for bringing that point up, though, and for thinking of our colleagues. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second? We have a proper motion before us. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is approved, and we have completed all business to come before us without objection, and we stand adjourned.
creating a specialized charcoal that acts as a sponge, which holds the nutrients in the soil for a long time.
Biochar is rich compost pulls carbon out of the air and into the soil, where it restores soil health, increases plant growth, and makes plants more resistant to drought.
The Shakti